My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
Hey, and welcome into Judd's Hockey Show. Zolgad Declan Goff is the program, and the Wild, Declan Goff. The Wild's playing pretty well right now. 2-1 over the Oilers on Monday in what was a thoroughly entertaining game. Wednesday's win was a 4-1 against the Red Wings. Had some moments, but I wouldn't call it nearly as entertaining. But a win is a win is a win. And I want to start you off with this because this guy set the tone for last night's game, really, in a way. And it got me to thinking about his impact because I think there were a lot of people who were like, what? Why make this trade? And I think we both said, give this some time. It makes some sense. But of course, I am talking about Ryan Reaves, obtained on, I think it was November 25th for a 5th round draft pick from the Rangers. And that 5th round pick is in 2025. Last night, he nearly ended Filip Gustavsson of the defenseman who did not come back. I guess he wanted to, but he's in concussion protocol. The guy put his head down. And as Reeves said post-game, he said, my philosophy on hits is I try to hit like a football player. Because if you turn, you might get some head. And if you do, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But he basically drives through a guy's body, which is that hit looked terrible. But Hronek put his head down. And the more you looked at the hit, you couldn't find a sin there. You cannot. Too many guys in the league today skate around with their head downs because they're convinced they're not going to get hit like that. And that's just not true. But anyway, bigger picture, when Ryan Reaves was obtained, the Wild was 9-8-2, and they just won a game or two. But they were a 500 team that wasn't certainly playing consistent. They weren't playing great, and I would say, in fact, they weren't playing with a consistent intensity. All right,
their identity. They're looking for that identity.
Yeah, exactly. Since they got Reaves, he only has 3 assists. Missed an empty net last night, which was very unfortunate. In that time, in the 10 games, he only actually has 7 penalty minutes. So he's not being penalized a ton. And last night, because no one will fight him, it was his first fight. But here's the most important stat. The Wild 7-3 with him. The Wild is 7-3 since they got Reaves. And, you know, I saw a tweet I got last night, and it basically said it is Ryan Reaves, the Wild's version of the 2021-22 Pat Bev with the Wolves.
It's a great comparison.
Yeah, and I thought, you know what? That's a fantastic comparison because it's not like the guy's going to be a star player statistically, and he's not even to play that much. But you cannot debate going from 9-8-2 and really a team that didn't pass the eye test to 7-3 in the last 10, and a team that I think far more often passes that same eye test.
Yeah, that's kind of the comparison I gave you when we broke down the trade instant reaction during Thanksgiving week, that he's not going to bring an offensive production to your game. And, you know, we were kind of, at that point, we were trying to figure out why we're going to make an offensive trade. And trading for Ryan Reaves doesn't necessarily, check that box. But at the same time, we said, well, if you're going to play a heavier style and a bigger style and a workman's-like style, giving Ryan Reaves a shot actually makes some sense. And what is sometimes uncharacteristic, it doesn't show up on the box score, and this is where I give Guerin a ton of credit, is that he can identify sometimes there's a little missing ingredient here in this room. There's a little missing ingredient with our play, and it's compounding to where our record is right now, which was, to your point, a 500 at best team that was middling, not doing really anything exceptional. And they were still, they're just scuffling a little bit, but they were certainly not out of it, right? It's not like they were buried in the standings. They were just trying to figure out who the hell they were going to be. And when you traded for Ryan Reaves, you established a little bit more of the identity of who you are, which I think is now this more of a hard-hitting team, workman's-like team that has some skilled players that are starting to show up a little bit more, obviously. I thought Boldy had another good game. Kirill had a good game. That line of Walker and Boldy is still looking really strong. But all of that stems from the trade from Ryan Reaves. And it's worth giving up a 5th-round pick for that. And yes, he's not going to show up on the stat sheet a lot, but his impact is clear. They have won 7 of their 10 games with Ryan Reaves, and I don't necessarily think that's a fluke.
No, and I think it's definitely a tone. I think it's weird too because, and this is where I sort of don't blame Bill Guerin. I blame him a little bit for the public as the season started, sort of trying to say, we're going to be fine. Fiala's gone, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, no, you're really not. That's a huge piece. That's a huge scoring chip. But where I don't blame him is I think he was probably as caught off guard as the rest of us by the accountability thing, because you still had Foligno back. Like, that room was pretty much intact. It's not like the room had turned sour. It's not like the room had turned bad. And Foligno did get hurt. And Marcus strikes me as the type of guy who, if he can't play, probably is going to not try and be too big a voice, because he's a very smart guy. And I think when you're hurt, you're like, well, I'm not really contributing, so how can I do this? But anyway, the room just missed that. And Reaves is such a boisterous, confident presence, a likable guy. Like, he knows his job. In talking last night post game, there's a twinkle in his eye that says, I know exactly why I'm here. I know what I'm supposed to do. And there's like no confusion. There's like no, well, perhaps I should be on the third line. There's like, no, well, I am an important part of this team now. So, I mean, this guy fills his place. He knows his place. He fills in the gap. And I think that's so incredibly important, because the last thing that you want is a guy that comes in and fakes that, because
Correct.
There's going to be no respect there. I think, and this is just from an outsider's point of view, but being in the room again post-COVID a little bit, I sense that with Reaves, there is a real respect for the fact that, one, he knows his role, and two, he's playing it. And to go back to the stat, 7 PIMs, like, so it's not like he's going around being stupid. It's not like he's trying to fight. Guys won't fight him. But like, he got in a fight last night with Sherratt, because it was a last resort, and Sherratt basically tried to throw one punch and then just fell down. So I think the fact that Reaves so knows his role, and his role is really old school, but the other thing is, he's not a dumb player.
No.
Like you watch him play, he makes some plays. He's around the puck. He's super slow, but he knows he's got enough hockey sense that he can make it. And so, yes, I think all of those things, to what you said, are a credit to Bill Guerin for identifying what looks like the right guy. It doesn't have to be a star, but it's the right guy at the right time. And it gave this team, if this team had a pilot light that was off, Ryan Reaves lit that light. And I'm not saying it makes them great, because it doesn't, but it does make them look far more competitive, and they pass the eye test way more than they did in that 9-8-2 start.
Absolutely. Yeah, he does have that Pat Beverly role to him, and ironically enough, we're not a Timberwolves hockey show. You can go check out Flagrant Howls with Phil Mackey and Kyle Taigu. I'm sure we'll break this down also today. Pat Beverly apparently wants back with the Timberwolves, and I wouldn't blame the Timberwolves for trying to figure out a way to get Pat Beverly back here, right? There's something about those guys, the Pat Bevs, the AJ Pierzynskis, the Ryan Reaves, that just have this quality that you loathe them when they're playing against your team that you like to see. But when they're on your team, it is a difference maker. It's the same thing when you're in a back alley, right? Like, I don't want to face that guy, but man, if he's on my side, I feel a lot better about my chances.
Exactly right. Topic 2 is going to be what is going on in goal. But before I talk about that, Declan Goff, I want to talk about my friends at Chanhassen Dinner Theaters. That's right, the Chan. And now you're looking at this and you're saying, why is Judd of Judd's Hockey Show holding up a card? What's that card? And I'm going to tell you what this is. This is the card for a great Christmas gift, a great stocking stuffer, a great holiday gift. Because this is not just an impersonal gift card of, here's your gift card now. No. This is date night, guys. Girlfriend, wife, perhaps your parents. Perhaps your parents are like, you know what? We don't go out much. And you're like, Mom and Dad, I want to give you a holiday gift card. And this card, it is the perfect gift idea. So it lets you pick. Here's why. What you want to see for everyone. A big splashy musical, perhaps Footloose, being advertised right now. Perhaps The Prom, Jersey Boys. Okay, so you're like, musicals are great, Judd, but is there more? And of course, the answer is yes. That concert series, tribute concerts, everything from the Eagles to Fleetwood Mac to Sinatra to Patsy Cline. I love that stuff.
Yeah, me too.
I love that stuff. And then last but not least, the comedy improv show with Stevie Ray is a blast. The crowd, in this case, suggests the ideas, and the actors on stage then do immediate skits. And did I mention that in the midst of this date, not only are you having fun, not only are you laughing, but you also get a great dinner, a great steak, prime rib, or Dex's absolute favorite,
The chicken
famous,
chan.
the chicken chan, exactly right. And now you're saying, okay, Judd, I'm all in. But what do I do? And it's this simple. 952-934-1525. 952-934-1525. Or go to chanhassendt.com to get your gift card. Or last but not least, you can certainly stop in to get one as well. But the site again, chanhassendt.com. As in all cases with this, please tell them that Score North, Judd's Hockey Show, Mackey and Judd, PD, whatever the show, please tell them that we sent you, because it helps us, and we love to see you support our partners, Chanhassen Dinner Theaters. Goaltending is the second one. And I actually want to talk about a guy that I was very soured on through 2 games, and I'll tell you why. Filip Gustavsson started last night, and his night was not difficult, okay? I believe the Red Wings had 2 first-period shots, and they were playing back-to-backs. They're missing a handful of key players, including Dylan Larkin, who was hurt in their 1-0 loss to Carolina on Tuesday night. But in his first 2 appearances, so he relieved Fleury in the second period against the Kings, Dex, in the second game, and then he started the Avs game. Filip Gustavsson went 0-2, gave up 8 goals, which is an .860 save percentage. That's not sufficient.
No, it's not.
His last 9 starts since then, 6-2-1, save percentage up to .935, shut out Vancouver on Saturday. That's 17 goals against in the 9 games. In the 9 games. But 9 have come in 2 games, meaning that he has played exceptionally well. The last 2 games, 1 goal on 52 shots. And I don't think it was a mistake that when Dean Evison postgame was asked about Gustafsson last night, Dex, he said something along the lines of complete pro, got the shutout against the Canucks, didn't play the next game against the Oilers, didn't complain one bit. Don't think that was a mistake. I think that was a shot, Cam Talbot. But Filip Gustavsson has been absolutely, for what I heard a couple days ago, somebody talking on Sirius and NHL radio and saying that the Wild goaltending has struggled. I couldn't disagree more. I'm not sure about you. I think since that rocky first couple 2-3 games,
Yeah.
I think it's been really good. And I think that the Fleury Gustafsson combo has done pretty much exactly what you want.
Yeah, exactly. Gustafsson, to your point, playing against a banged up Rangers team, didn't have their best player obviously on the ice, in Dylan Larkin, but I think Gustafsson's really settled in here, and I still don't know if he is a viable long-term starter, 1A starter, I should say.
I agree.
His underlying metrics have been really good. His goal saved above average is a +5, so he's stopping about 5 more pucks than he should be according to a league average goaltender, which is good. His numbers look pretty strong. Obviously, you look at the traditional numbers of save percentage, .920 is pretty good, .233 is good. Goaltending averages have been plummeting year after year after year, as in league average. What is league average? And you're seeing league average save percentages more towards 900 these days. So when you see a guy with .920, which is usually really good, well, that's even a step above being good because of where the league is heading right now. So I think he's a solid goalie. I still like the rotation that they're on. I don't know if Gustafsson should be now thrown into getting more playing time necessarily, but when you get a backup in your net every night, or whenever they start, I should say, you just want them to not shipwreck the game. And Gustafsson has not really shipwrecked a game outside of those first 2 that you mentioned. That's all you can ask for from a backup goalie. Can you not shipwreck the game? Can you give yourself a quality chance to win this game? And he has. And to be honest, this is where I credit the Wild too for locking up 2 guys in Fleury and Gustafsson who are not making a bleep ton of money, and you're handicapped to a goaltender who is not good, right? I mean, we're seeing that around the league right now. Markstrom, right, and with Calgary, who's been scuffling this season. You're seeing guys who are highly paid that just are not very good goaltenders. Bob in Florida, I know he rebounded last season a little bit. Yeah, don't pay goaltending. These
contracts, yeah.
Don't overpay. Excuse me. Don't overpay for goaltending. Even with Talbot and Dubnyk, who I know their tenures at the end we were more sour on than maybe most. I give them credit. Those were not immovable contracts. Those weren't overpaying for those guys. They did a really good job at identifying, we're going to pay you this, and this is what you're going to be worth. And for whatever reason, the Wild's front office, whether that's been Guerin or Fenton or even Chuck Fletcher, they have not really ever had a history of overpaying for bad goaltending. How many times in baseball have you seen a team overpay for a mediocre starting pitcher? We've seen the Twins do it plenty of times. This is a good thing to do from a cap building standpoint. Yeah. And then also, obviously, on the ice, too, Filip Gustavsson's earning your trust. You know, this is where when he has to start against Detroit, I feel pretty good about that. I know he's also played, he played against Anaheim the other day and he allowed 4 goals, but the Wild still won the game. So these are all good things for the Wild to figure out. And then if he continues to play well, you can potentially lock him up to, again, another nice team-friendly deal. So these are all very good things for the Wild to have. It was a really good trade from Guerin, too, to get him over here.
Yeah, especially for a guy that was disgruntled.
Yeah.
Like you can't go to all of the lengths that Bill Guerin did to buy out Parise and Suter and then have it be, but we're going to keep Cam Talbot now. Like you are in cap hell on purpose. And I get it completely. And I actually agreed. But then you can't have a guy be like, Marc-Andre Fleury's going to play more than me. It's like, well, yeah, he probably is. To go back to that Ducks game too, the other tentacle off this conversation that I find intriguing is, so going back to that Ducks game, as you said, the Wild won that game 5-4. The next game they played, they started that 4-game road trip and they played Dallas and took, I think it was a 5-1 lead. Dallas came all the way back and tied it against Fleury, and then the Wild in OT won 6-5. But that was concerning. The next 2 games were at Calgary and against the Oilers, and they lost 5-3 and 5-2. I want to point out the last 3 games then, starting with the Saturday night game at Vancouver, Dex, the Wild won 3 rip. The Wild came back on Monday, and again, in what I think was their best overall performance of the entire season, won 2-1, and won last night 4-1. It wasn't a sexy game, but who cares? My point being is I also think that the goaltending conversation, I feel like the last 3 games, this team has been far more complete in its play. Against the Oilers, I thought Brodin and Spurgeon, who aren't paired, were marvelous. So that's the other thing. If this team is willing to work and willing to do what it takes, I think you create a situation or environment for Fleury and Gustafsson that's outstanding too. And I really think like these last 3 games have been a total effort that is exactly what Dean wants. The question is, can you continue to get it? But it really felt like that Calgary loss, especially, I think, because it was a bad loss. And so was the defeat before that against the Oilers. I really think that those 2 defeats back to back help focus this team. And I guess my question is this: how long can that last? Because I like what I see now. What I see now is a team that's doing everything, not just things here and there, and not just, in the second period. They're doing everything that they need to do to play a complete game.
Yeah, and that's, yes, I do agree with that. And look, they have some softies on their schedule here too, where it's good to take advantage of bad teams, right? Detroit's coming off the heels of a back-to-back and is injured. You have Chicago on Friday, Ottawa, Anaheim, San Jose. Now it does get a little tougher after that. After we get out of Christmas, they're going to play Winnipeg, Dallas, St. Louis, Tampa Bay, Buffalo, St. Louis, New York. So you're going to face some big boys here after the Christmas season. But you know what? Rack up these points. Take advantage of these points, and then we'll assess and probably get Judd a good estimate of how good the Wild are, how they perform against those bigger boys, right? Those are going to be huge games. Tampa Bay on January 4th, the X, that's a national game on TNT, 8:30 puck drop here in St. Paul, I believe, too. So a late puck drop. That's a good question.
Because last night we were blacked out from the national telecast.
Yeah. I know fans were pretty upset about that. And I get it. It just with the way everything, it's so hard to watch local sports, national sports. Cable is obviously $1 bajillion. Streaming services are better, but they don't have everything that you want. It is kind of frustrating. I know what you mean.
I just feel like the national games, and I get that some are exclusive to the national carriers, some are side by side, and then some have blackout restrictions. I just feel like it was too bad that you couldn't watch Old Czech and Albert and the TNT crew. All right, the last talking point from the Wild is this. Dean made it very clear in his post game last night. So the team is going to take today off from practice since they won the game. Ryan Hartman is going to skate again. Ryan Hartman, I guess, has said he is he is ready to play. The staff talked to him last night. They're going to skate him again today, and then there is a fighting chance, no pun intended, that he is going to play on Friday against the Blackhawks. But he is very close, and Dean Evison said when Ryan Hartman is ready, Ryan Hartman will play. Which got me to thinking, okay, because we had this discussion after that Gaudreau, Walker, and Boldy line played so well against the Oilers. Sammy Walker played 6:32 last night.
Yeah.
That was his total ice time. So is he the guy that definitely comes out? Because damn, he's fast. And I, again, that game last night didn't have the necessary definition that the Oilers game had. Detroit, obviously a very different team. It was more of a, it's not Detroit's not big, but they do hit. So it was a bit more of a feisty game than a skating game. And I know Hartman has to play, but Dex, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know if I mess with this right now. And I do I think that it's a slam dunk that Hartman's as good with Boldy as Walker has been? And I know that, this is going to happen in some way, but I'm sort of torn here. I'm sort of torn. I know he has to play, but Sammy Walker, I don't think has done a thing to lose that opportunity.
I agree. And Boldy's ice time honestly went down yesterday too, which was kind of.
It's been going down exponentially. Yeah. Look at his ice time per game. Yeah. I did this exercise before we started. It's been going down per game, and I don't know if it's situational or what. He's not being punished.
No, I mean, and what's weird is going down. Yep. What's weird is he was playing. He played 18 minutes against Calgary. He played 19 minutes against Edmonton. Both those losses. And ever since then, he's really only playing 12 minutes a night. Now he has 3 points in those 3 games. He's shooting the puck a ton. So he's been more effective. And this is where sometimes, look, Boldy's a good player. He's a really good player. He is a Robin, to Kaprizov's Batman, if you will, just in terms of the skill set on this team, not necessarily that they're line mates.
Sure.
But we sometimes, I think, we saw his numbers, we saw his production right away, and like, oh, this is the next good guy next Grill. Boldy's a really good player. He's not a superstar player. So maybe that they are realizing that we can't play this guy 20 minutes a night because he's not as effective when we play him 20 minutes a night. Now, I think down the road, he's 21 years old. He's going to be a player that does play 18 to 19 minutes a night. But right now they're kind of limiting him, and it's been, I guess, more effective to him in a small sample size. But with how Hartman fits into this roster long term and who comes out, it is probably easy to say that Sammy Walker is just the odd guy out because he's only played here for 2 games and only played 6 minutes last night. But yeah, I mean, I don't like messing with the chemistry of a team that also is winning games. They're winning games. And you're not really going to mess.
Yes, exactly.
I don't think Reaves is coming out after last night. Let's say Reaves had a bad game last night. Does Reaves come out of the lineup? And will Reaves probably come out of the lineup a few times? Yes, he will. Reaves will be a healthy scratch. I would be shocked if Ryan Reaves is not a healthy scratch a few times this season. But I don't know where he really fits in. It's probably Walker, and you throw Gaudreau, Boldy, and Hartman on that line, and I guess that's fine. But I also, to your point, I don't like messing with a good thing. Don't fix what's not broken.
All right, I got one more question. It's not going to happen. It's pie in the sky. The Wild won't do it, and some fans will bristle at this. But I'm just asking this.
Okay.
Before we go. Do you give thought to reuniting Hartman with Zuccarello and Kaprizov? Because that's where he played last year. He started there this year. He got demoted after a terrible start. He was not demoted because he was hurt. He was demoted because he didn't play well. Right. And look to do something different with Sam Steele.
You could.
They won't do it, but I'm just asking. Sam Steele, literally that job is don't F up.
Right.
It's not, that job has nothing to do with, Hartman's season last year was a blessing out of nowhere, and they won't. I think Walker gets sent down probably, and I do not like that, but I'm just curious if you would give thought to trying Hartman back with that first line and do something different with Sam Steele.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they move around Sam Steele, or even one day, again, Sam Steele becomes a healthy scratch. It is, I guess, good problems to have when you're playing this well, but yeah, you just don't want to tinker with too much of this being the mad scientist if, you're making a good potion right here. So It is interesting to see. By the way, Tommy's men's hockey flash sale going on live right now. St. Thomas battles Ferris State this Friday and Saturday. Go to TommySports.com. You can buy your tickets for just $5. Go to the ticket office on game day, $5. Go to TommySports.com. And of course, you can listen to all that action right here on Score North. We are the home of University of St. Thomas Athletics. So go watch the Tommies or listen to the Tommies play Ferris State this Friday and Saturday night.
Very, very nice. 1500 a.m.
That's right.
Where it is where. Don't confuse the people who are watching us and like, you can watch the Tommies. Well, we don't really show them here, but yes, it's on the, as I like to call it, the big stick.
That's right.
All right, Dex, take
All right,
us
man.
home, baby.
All right, hit the subscribe button. Daily Minnesota Sports Entertainment on this YouTube channel. You can go check out also Purple Daily for Daily Minnesota Vikings Entertainment. Plenty of stuff at your fingertips here at Score North and Pass Shoot Score.
There's no room for petty bull.